If you guys have been around for a little bit, you know that I worked at a camp called Flathead Lutheran Bible Camp this summer, and I had an awesome time. But there is one story that I have to tell out of all of them because it changed my life. Flathead Lutheran Bible Camp is a camp on Flathead Lake, about 10 minutes south of Lakeside, and it's super beautiful. I went there as a kid, but I always did the traditional on-site. The traditional on-site is a week of being at camp that is for about second graders all the way to freshmen in high school. And during this time, there's a lot of Bible study, there's hiking, there's boating, there's swimming, all this stuff, and it's a really great time. However, that's not the only thing that Flathead Lutheran Bible Camp has to offer. They also offer off-site programs, and these programs are all grouped into a thing called a glacier wilderness. And that kind of leads into this story. I was assigned to climb and kayak. What was nice about this is the week prior, I was also in climb and kayak with Madison, who was in the Waterton video. She's a very strong woman and helped me really deal with being a leader while not having the control that I usually have, aided by the ADHD medications I take. It was a very big confidence booster, and I went into week 3 thinking that I could conquer any storm. Well, conquering any storm was really hard to do, as this trip started out with a literal storm, something of the likes I've never seen in Montana before. But let's start from the beginning. So in a climbing kayak, you start off, the kids come on Sunday, you spend the night at an outpost camp, you wake up Monday, you leave for this lake that is about 2 hours away in Eureka called Lake Koocanusa. You then kayak 2.5 miles across this lake to Gateway Camp. Gateway Camp is pretty much off the grid. There's no running water. It has only one service road to it that is not open to the public, and it is 825 feet away from the Canadian border. Then you spend Tuesday kayaking around the lake, go to this USGS thing that's in the middle of the lake. It's really cool. See what's on the other side, and maybe even go to the Canadian border, and if you are daring enough, go across into Canada, which is not actually illegal according to maritime law, as long as you do not dock on the other side without a passport. Wednesday, then you leave, you go back to that boat ramp area, and you go about a 15-minute drive south to climb. Then you camp at a different camp out, and then on Thursday you climb some more, and then you go back to FLBC to have one more night at the outpost camp, and then you leave. Happy ever after. So that is how the climbing kayak works. I was partnered with Anna, who is super cool.
Perfect.
The campers came. It was kind of a larger group than I had the week prior, but still a very small group. We had 8 kids total. Monday afternoon we leave, and we get to Lake Koocanusa about 2 hours later. There were clouds in the sky. And I knew there was a storm coming in, but I also knew that we arrived there just in time to get to Gateway Camp before the storm started. Or at least before it got worse. And we got there and it started drizzling, so we told the kids to go take the camping gear and stuff, get it under the trees where it's not going to get super wet, and set up the tents, while Anna and I drug the kayaks up and we flipped them over to make sure that no rainwater would get in them. Then it started thundering every 2 seconds. Like, it was insane. I've never seen a storm like this in Montana ever. It was very violent. Anna and I went back up to the camp area, and the campers were like, "The tents are broken." And they were. There was a 6-person tent with no poles. There was another 6-person tent with 4-person tent poles. And then there was a 2-person tent, which I had picked because it was in a 4-person tent bag. Then it started hailing. I just tell the kids to get in. And I finished putting up like the tent. We sat in those tents for 1 hour and then it stopped. It was also getting really wet because we weren't able to put the tarps down before it started hailing. So we were just sitting there kind of figuring out what to do. Some of them were freaking out. Now the bright side was we knew that it was pretty much going to be nice for the rest of the week, especially when we were out kayaking. So we weren't super worried about that, but we also did not know the problems that lie ahead of us that were not involved in the weather really. We got out, we kind of tried setting up the tents and we were like, no, we're sleeping outside on the beach tonight. So then I was like, dinner's gonna be warm, so let's warm up. This is also about the time where we realized that one of the kids had opened up their dry bags, and in the dry bag was their sleeping bag, which was made of cotton. And they didn't close it before it started raining and hailing. So it was soaked. So I take the stove out. You need that, and you need fuel, and you need the fuel pump. We did not have a fuel pump. That means essentially you can't use the stove. You gotta make a fire to cook with wet wood, which is really hard to do. So I gave Richie a call. Richie's a wilderness director, and he's really cool. He gave me a couple of ideas, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was when he said, "You've got this. This is why I put you on this trip. That's because I know you can handle it." And I'll remember that. He also suggested that we take the kids out on a walk. So we did. So here's some footage from us taking them to the Canadian border. We switched our dry lunch with dinner just so that the kids would have food. So I started figuring out what there was around that I could use. Everything is wet, so like that's hard. So we have to make a fire to dry wood out for the morning to make breakfast and stuff. I thought of a couple of things. I knew that there was something that was still dry that we could use. There's no running water at this place, but there is an outhouse. This outhouse had a couple of rolls of toilet paper in there that have been there for a couple of years probably. And one of them was kind of moldy and disgusting. However, moldy and disgusting doesn't really matter when you're trying to survive. So I thought, let's use it as fuel to get this fire going. I started unraveling it and crumpling it up and made a fire out of it. I also covered it in pine needles. If you're ever wondering why wildfires still start in the middle of a rainstorm, it's because of these pine needles. They take like 2 seconds to dry, and then they are completely bone dry. Also, we had no lighter. We had matches. But I got the fire going with that toilet paper and pine needles. Then we started stacking up sticks. They were wet, but I knew that if I kept piling pine needles over and over and over again, they'd eventually catch and dry up. This is a miracle that I even got it started, let alone keep it going. It didn't stop going. So then I pull over the grate, which you use for like cooking and stuff, and I put a whole bunch of big sticks over top of the fire to get them to dry out. And that was my God moment for the entire summer right there. It worked. The fire dried the wood, and it was enough wood, enough kindling, tinder, and big fuel to get us going for the morning. I guarded that wood like gold. I put it into my personal dry bag and closed that thing up. We spent the night out on the sand. It was fine for most of us. The kid with the sleeping bag that got wet, I felt terrible for him. I did offer my sleeping bag to him and he said no. So what I did give him was pretty much all of my long sleeve clothes that I had packed. I also gave him my pillow. We woke up, we had breakfast. We cooked breakfast on the fire, The other good thing was, even though it was really cold that night, it got really hot on Tuesday. And so we drug the tents out onto the beach. We also put that guy's sleeping bag face up, like open to the sun. Everything dried out that day, which is nice, including the wood on the beach. So we were able to use more wood that day. So it all worked out. At least our water filter worked. That was the thing. The week before, our water filter didn't work, so we had to go and get water from town. But that's a totally different story. So we all survived. We had a good time. We all kayaked. Tuesday night was really good. And then Wednesday morning, kayaked back to the boat ramp. It was a little bit windy, so kind of big waves. I think 1 foot waves. And then the rest of the week, I gotta be honest, was like pretty fine. The climbing aspect was good. Both of these climb and kayak weeks, at the end, I talked to the kids about a wilderness philosophy that I have come to know. And that is the 3 types of fun. Type 1 fun, you're having fun while you're doing it, and it's fun after. Type 2, it's not fun during, but it's fun after. And then type 3, it's not fun during it, it's not fun after, but man, it's a good campfire story, and you have fun telling it. This was type 3 fun for me, definitely. So, I hope you enjoyed that story from my summer camp. Check it out. I've got a link down below to their website where you can find some more information. With that said, I will end this video. I, again, hope you enjoyed the story, and I will hope to get some videos out shortly.